Welcome to the Top 1% Book Club, where we bring you actionable insights from top self-improvement books.
You got it.
Today, we're diving into Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. It's a leadership guide that's rooted in Navy SEAL principles.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to break down some key lessons on taking full responsibility for things,
Right.
leading effectively under pressure, and empowering your team.
Yeah.
You'll learn how ownership, discipline, and accountability can transform your leadership and life.
For sure.
Are you ready to master extreme ownership?
Absolutely. This book is packed with hard-won wisdom.
Yeah.
Jocko and Leif don't just talk the talk. They've walked the walk, leading SEAL Team 3 in Ramadi,
Oh, wow.
one of the most dangerous battlefields
Yeah.
of the Iraq War.
So we've got real-world experience here.
Yes.
Not just theory.
Yeah.
What's the most surprising thing you learned from extreme ownership?
You know what struck me is that extreme ownership
Yeah.
isn't about being a control freak. It's about controlling your responses.
Okay.
Taking full responsibility for everything that happens on your watch, even things that seem outside of your control.
So it's not about micromanaging every single detail,
Right.
but it's about owning the outcomes regardless of the circumstances.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that as a leader, the buck ultimately stops with you.
Right.
Jocko illustrates this with a chilling story about taking responsibility for a friendly fire incident even though it wasn't directly his fault.
Whoa, that sounds intense.
Yeah.
Why would he do that?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be easier to just point fingers and blame someone else?
Of course, but that's not extreme ownership.
Right. Yeah.
By taking responsibility.
Yeah.
Jocko demonstrated powerful leadership.
Cool.
He was able to analyze what went wrong, identify systemic issues, and implement changes to prevent it from happening again.
Okay.
It's about learning from mistakes and building trust with your team.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're constantly blaming others, you're never going to learn and grow.
Right.
And your team will never trust you to have their backs.
Precisely. And this leads to another key principle.
Okay.
No bad teams.
Okay.
Only bad leaders. Jocko and Leif argue that a true leader elevates their team no matter the starting point.
Okay.
They share a story from SEAL training,
Okay.
where simply switching the leaders of two boat crews transformed their performance.
Wait, so just by changing the leader,
Yes.
a losing team became a winning team?
It highlights how a leader's mindset and actions can make or break a team.
Wow, but what if you inherit a team that's really struggling?
Right.
I mean, some people are just not cut out for certain roles, right?
Of course, there are individual differences in skill and talent,
Yeah.
but Jocko and Leif would argue that a good leader can identify those strengths and weaknesses and build a team that leverages them effectively.
Right.
Think about a basketball coach. They don't expect every player to be a star scorer, but they can create a winning team
Okay.
by assigning roles that play to each player's strength.
So it's about seeing the potential in your team
Yeah.
and helping them unlock it.
Exactly. It's about creating an environment where everyone feels valued, challenged, and supported.
That's a powerful shift in perspective.
Yeah.
Instead of blaming the team, focus on how you can lead them more effectively.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another critical component. Believe.
Right.
Jocko and Leif emphasize that you can't inspire others if you don't believe in the mission yourself.
Okay.
There's a story where Jocko initially questioned the strategy of working with poorly trained Iraqi soldiers. He didn't understand why they were being asked to partner with a force that seemed so unreliable.
I can see how that would be frustrating.
Yeah.
How did he overcome that?
By digging deeper,
Okay.
he challenged his assumptions, asked questions, and ultimately came to understand the why behind the mission. It was about training the Iraqi army so they could eventually take over security of their own country.
Right.
Once he grasped the bigger picture, his entire mindset shifted.
And that belief translated into action and ultimately success.
Yes, he was able to rally his SEALs,
Yeah.
build trust with the Iraqi soldiers,
Okay.
and achieve their objectives.
Wow.
This is a powerful lesson for all of us.
Right.
We might not always agree with every task or goal we're given, but instead of just going through the motions, it's vital to find a way to believe in what you're doing.
So ask questions.
Yeah.
Understand the bigger picture and find that spark of belief. It makes sense. But I'm also thinking, what if the mission is flawed?
Right.
What if your doubts are valid?
That's where check the ego comes in.
Check the ego.
This principle is all about balancing confidence with humility.
Okay.
Being able to acknowledge when you might be wrong, being open to feedback,
Yeah.
and prioritizing the mission's success over your own ego.
So it's not about blindly following orders,
Right.
but about being able to voice your concerns constructively.
Yes.
And be open to different perspectives.
Exactly. Think about a referee admitting they made a wrong call during a game.
Right.
It's counterintuitive, but it actually builds respect.
Yeah, it does.
The ability to set aside your ego, accept criticism, and prioritize the team's success is a hallmark of a great leader.
I'm starting to see how these 4 principles, extreme ownership, no bad teams believe, and check the ego, are all interconnected.
They're like pillars supporting a strong leadership foundation.
Right.
You can't have true ownership without checking your ego.
Right.
You can't effectively lead if you don't believe in the mission.
Makes sense.
It's about cultivating a mindset that empowers you to approach challenges in a whole new way.
All right, so we've got this foundation for winning the war within. But how did these principles forged on the battlefield translate to everyday life and business?
That's where it gets really interesting. Jocko and Leif lay out 4 laws of combat that offer incredibly valuable insights for any team or organization.
Laws of combat.
Yes.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Let's dive into those.
The first is cover and move.
I'm picturing SEALs covering fire for each other.
Right.
As they advance on a target.
Right.
How does that apply to, say, a marketing team?
Well, instead of bullets, think of ideas and support.
Okay.
Just like SEALs watch each other's backs in combat, teams and businesses need to support each other and work together towards a common goal.
So instead of silos and infighting, it's about departments and individuals.
Exactly.
Understanding that they're all part of a larger mission.
Right.
And need to collaborate effectively.
Precisely. If the team fails, everyone fails.
Right.
But if the team succeeds, everyone shares in that victory.
That's a powerful reminder.
Yeah.
And it's a great segue into the second law of combat. Simple.
Oh, simple.
This is about decluttering my desk.
Hilarious. Well, that might help. But it's really about avoiding unnecessary complexity in your plans and processes.
Okay.
Jocko and Leif argue that complex plans often lead to chaos.
Right.
Especially when things go wrong.
Yeah.
Which they inevitably do.
They do.
They give an example of a foot patrol through multiple sectors in Ramadi.
Right.
Each with different procedures.
Yeah.
Which created confusion and increased risk.
Right. So many moving parts.
Exactly. And the same applies to overly complicated projects in business.
Yeah.
Too many moving parts.
Yeah.
Unclear objectives.
Yeah.
And convoluted communication can derail even the most well-intentioned efforts.
Keep it simple. I like it.
Keep it simple.
It's a powerful reminder to focus on clarity.
Yeah.
And streamline processes. What's the third law of combat?
It's prioritize and execute.
Prioritize and execute.
This one is all about staying focused.
Okay.
And taking decisive action when faced with multiple challenges.
This feels very relevant to my life right now. How do I prioritize when everything feels urgent?
Jocko and Leif stress the importance of identifying the top priority.
Okay.
The one thing that absolutely must get done.
Right.
And focusing all energy on execution.
Okay.
They illustrate this principle with a gripping story of a SEAL team trapped in a building with a bomb about to detonate.
Oh my gosh.
It was prioritizing and executing critical tasks.
Oh, wow.
That allowed them to escape.
Talk about pressure.
Yeah.
So in the business world, this translates to making tough decisions about resource allocation, project timelines, and strategic focus.
For sure.
Don't get bogged down in the minutia.
Yeah.
Figure out what matters most and execute relentlessly.
You got it. And finally, we have the fourth law of combat, decentralized command.
Decentralized command. Okay.
This one might seem counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Aren't SEAL teams known for their strict hierarchy and chain of command?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
They are, but Jocko and Leif also emphasize that effective leaders empower their team members to make decisions. It's not about micromanaging every detail.
Right.
It's about giving people the tools, training, and trust to act independently within their area of expertise.
So it's about creating a culture of ownership and accountability at all levels.
Yeah.
But doesn't that require a high level of trust in your team?
Absolutely. This requires clear communication of the mission and intent.
Okay.
But it frees up the leader to focus on the bigger picture.
Right.
And allows team members to develop their own leadership skills.
I'm starting to see how this could be a game changer.
Yeah.
But let's pause here for a moment.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Wow.
The 4 principles for winning the war within.
Yep.
The 4 laws of combat. I'm already feeling inspired to take more ownership in my own life.
That's what it's all about. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore how these principles can be applied to your specific challenges and goals.
Sounds great.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
I'm looking forward to it. Welcome back to our deep dive into extreme ownership.
We've unpacked some powerful principles and laws of combat. But now I'm really curious to connect these ideas to my life.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this book.
Yeah.
It's surprisingly relatable.
Yeah.
Even if you're not leading a SEAL team in a war zone.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a relief because my daily battles are more about deadlines and emails.
Right.
So how do I apply these principles to everyday challenges?
Let's take the principle of no bad teams.
Okay.
Only bad leaders. If you're thinking, like, I'm not even in a leadership position.
Right.
Think again.
Okay.
Leadership isn't just about formal titles.
You're saying that everyone has the potential to be a leader.
Absolutely.
Regardless of their role.
Think about a project at work that's going off the rails.
Okay.
Instead of blaming your colleagues or complaining about the lack of resources, ask yourself, what can I do to improve the situation?
Okay.
How can I lead by example?
Okay, so it's about taking initiative and ownership, even if it's not officially my job.
Right.
What about the believe principle?
Believe?
I can't always be passionate about every task I'm assigned.
True, but you can choose to find meaning in it.
Okay.
Instead of thinking this is pointless, ask yourself, how does this contribute to the bigger picture? What can I learn from this experience?
I can see how shifting my perspective can make a huge difference in my attitude and motivation.
That's just for sure.
It's like choosing to see the opportunity in every challenge.
Exactly. And don't forget, check the ego.
Check the ego.
How often do we let pride or defensiveness prevent us from learning and growing?
Right.
Whether it's a work project, a personal relationship, or just our own self-improvement.
Yeah.
Being able to admit mistakes and accept feedback is crucial.
It's about being humble and recognizing that we always have room to improve, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What about those laws of combat?
The laws of combat.
Can you give me some real-world examples?
Cover and move isn't just for SEAL teams. It's about building strong, supportive relationships in all aspects of your life.
So whether it's my family, my friends, or my colleagues,
right,
it's about having each other's backs, communicating effectively, and working together towards shared goals. I like that analogy.
And simple. This one is so valuable in today's world of information overload.
Right.
And constant distractions. Simplifying your goals, your plans. Even your daily routine can make a huge difference in your productivity and well-being.
Decluttering my mind, as well as my desk.
Yeah.
It's about cutting through the noise and focusing on what truly matters.
Yeah.
What about prioritize and execute?
Prioritize and execute.
That's a good one.
This one can be life-changing when you're feeling overwhelmed by to-do lists and competing demands. Remember that story of the SEAL team with the bomb?
Right.
Take a deep breath.
Okay.
Identify the most critical task and focus your energy on getting it done.
Break down big goals into smaller, manageable steps.
Yeah.
Don't try to do everything at once.
Exactly.
Prioritize and execute. Got it now. Decentralized command.
Decentralized command.
Can you explain how this applies outside of the military?
Well, you might not be in a position to delegate authority in a formal sense.
Right.
You can empower the people around you.
Okay.
Think about a group project or even just collaborating with your partner on household chores.
Right.
Right?
It's about trusting others to do their part.
Yes.
And giving them the space to contribute their skills and ideas.
Exactly.
So instead of trying to control everything, I should focus on empowering others to take ownership.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that you don't have to do everything yourself. By sharing responsibility and decision-making, you create a more collaborative and effective environment.
That makes sense.
What are your thoughts on the 2 key insights for sustaining victory plan and leading up and down the chain?
I'm intrigued by the emphasis on planning, even when things are going well. It seems counterintuitive.
It's about being proactive, not reactive.
Okay.
It's not about creating a rigid, unbreakable plan.
Right.
It's about anticipating potential obstacles.
Okay.
Having backup options and being prepared to adapt when things inevitably don't go according to plan.
It's like having a roadmap, but being willing to take detours when necessary.
Exactly. And leading up and down the chain is all about clear communication and building trust.
So it's about being transparent with my superiors about my needs and challenges.
Yeah.
While also making sure my team understands the why behind the mission.
Right.
I can see how that would create a more aligned and motivated team.
It's about creating a flow of information and understanding that empowers everyone to contribute their best work.
Yeah.
And it's essential in any relationship, professional or personal.
We've explored how the principles and laws of combat from extreme ownership can be applied to everyday life.
Right.
Even if I'm not leading a SEAL team. But there's one more concept we haven't talked about, the dichotomy of leadership.
Ah, yes. Remember, leadership is about finding balance.
It's not about being one extreme or the other,
Right.
but finding that sweet spot between seemingly contradictory qualities.
Yes.
This seems tricky. How do I navigate this dichotomy?
Jocko and Leif offer some excellent examples.
All right.
Take the balance between confidence and humility.
Okay, confidence and humility.
A good leader needs to believe in themselves and their abilities, but they must also be humble enough to admit mistakes and learn from others.
Right.
It's about projecting confidence without being arrogant.
So it's not about being a know-it-all, but about being willing to learn and grow.
Exactly. And then there's aggressive but not reckless.
Aggressive but not reckless.
Leaders need to be decisive and action-oriented,
Okay.
but also must carefully consider the risks and potential consequences.
Right.
It's about taking calculated risks, not just charging blindly into the unknown.
It's about having the courage to take action, but also the wisdom to know when to hold back. What about relationships with your team?
That brings us to being close with your team, but not showing favoritism.
Okay. Being close with your team, but not showing favoritism.
Leaders need to build strong relationships with their team members.
Right.
But they also need to maintain a level of professionalism and avoid creating a perception of unfairness.
So it's about being supportive and approachable, but also holding everyone to the same standards and expectations. That's a tough balance.
These are just a few examples of the dichotomies leaders face.
Right.
The key takeaway is that leadership isn't about finding simple black and white answers.
Right.
It's about navigating nuances and complexities, finding balance, and constantly adapting to changing circumstances.
It sounds like leadership is a constant process of learning and growth, not a destination.
You're never going to arrive at some perfect state of leadership.
Right.
It's about continuous improvement, self-reflection, and a willingness to learn and grow.
It's about embracing the challenges and the rewards of leadership.
Yeah.
And striving to become the best version of myself.
And that's what makes this book so powerful. It's not just a set of rules to follow,
Right.
but a philosophy that can empower you to become a more effective leader in all aspects of your life. So are you ready to put these insights into action?
Definitely, but where do I even begin?
Yeah.
I feel inspired, but a little overwhelmed.
That's completely understandable. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll walk you through some practical steps for applying these powerful concepts to your own life. Don't worry, we'll break it down and make it actionable.
We're back for the final part of our deep dive into extreme ownership. We've explored the principles, the laws of combat, and even the dichotomy of leadership. Now, let's talk about actually putting all this into practice.
It's time to take action
Yeah.
and translate these insights into tangible results.
All right, I'm feeling energized, but also a bit overwhelmed.
Sure.
Where do I even begin?
So with a simple question, what area of your life are you ready to take extreme ownership of?
Okay.
Is it a project at work?
Okay.
A relationship that needs repair your personal growth? Choose one specific area to focus on.
Okay.
Don't try to overhaul everything at once.
So pick one battle at a time. What's next?
Ask yourself, what's one thing I can do today to demonstrate extreme ownership in this area?
Okay.
Maybe it's having a difficult conversation you've been avoiding,
Right.
volunteering for a challenging task,
Right.
or simply admitting a mistake and taking steps to correct it.
Start small. Start now. I like that. It feels manageable. What about those laws of combat?
Right.
How can I apply those to my specific situation?
If your chosen area involves other people,
Okay.
remember, cover and move.
Cover and move.
How can you support your team?
Okay.
How can you work together more effectively towards a shared goal?
Collaboration is key.
Right.
Instead of pointing fingers, find ways to support and encourage each other.
Exactly. And don't forget, simple.
Simple. Right.
Is there a way to streamline your approach?
Okay.
To make things easier to understand and execute? Complexity often breeds confusion and frustration.
Keep it simple. Keep it clear. I'm a big fan of that principle.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get caught up in overthinking and overcomplicating things.
We all do now. Think about Prioritize and execute.
Prioritize and execute.
What's the most important task you need to tackle in this area?
Okay.
Don't get bogged down in the minutia.
Right.
Focus your energy on what will make the biggest impact.
Break down big goals into smaller, manageable steps.
Yes.
Don't try to do everything at once. Prioritize and execute. It's like that SEAL team with the bombs. Stay calm and focus on the critical task at hand.
Now consider decentralized command.
Okay, decentralized command.
Right.
Even if you're not in a formal leadership role, are there ways to empower the people around you?
Yeah.
Can you delegate tasks,
Okay.
share information, or give others the opportunity to take ownership?
It's about building a culture of ownership and accountability no matter your position.
Right.
Trust your team, give them the tools and support they need, and step back to let them shine.
And remember, this is a journey. There will be setbacks.
Right. There will be challenges, but by embracing the principles of extreme ownership, you'll be equipped to navigate them with resilience and determination.
It's so easy to get caught up in blaming others or making excuses.
It is.
But extreme ownership challenges us to take a different approach.
It does.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to create change,
right.
to lead ourselves and others regardless of our circumstances.
It's a call to action.
Yeah.
A challenge to step up and become the leader you were meant to be.
It's about taking responsibility not just for our own lives, but for the impact we have on the world around us.
It's about believing in ourselves,
Yeah.
believing in our teams, and believing that we have the power to achieve extraordinary things.
And as Jocko says, discipline equals freedom.
Yeah, a powerful idea.
By embracing the discipline of extreme ownership, we unlock a level of freedom and empowerment that allows us to live and lead with purpose and intention.
That's a powerful thought. Jocko and Leif talk a lot about leading down the chain, but what about leading up? How can you use these principles to influence and inspire those above you? That's something to ponder as you apply these powerful concepts to your own life.
That's all for our deep dive into extreme ownership. We hope these insights have inspired you to step up and take ownership in your own life. Remember, leadership isn't a title. It's a choice. Choose to lead.